Mid 2024 coverage this morning, Governor Ron DeSantis has decided it's his time to run for president.
DeSantis' Twitter Spaces conversation with Elon Musk, well, it drew hundreds of thousands of listeners, but it did come with some technical difficulties, leading to a delay in the launch. But once everything got up and running, the ball got running, DeSantis said he's running to, quote, lead the great American comeback.
Our Nathalie Pozo is live in Miami this morning, where the governor is meeting with donors later on today. Nathalie, good morning.
Good morning, Aaron. Good morning, Stephen, and to all of you. We are live in Miami at the Four Seasons Hotel along Brickell Avenue, where Governor Ron DeSantis will be meeting with top donors later on today. The governor of Florida now running for president of the United States. This comes after months of speculation and campaign-like visits in key primary states. He will be meeting with top donors again here at the Four Seasons later on this morning in private. But after he meets with those donors, we actually just learned of a new tour that the governor will be launching next week. We now know, according to his campaign, he will begin a 4-day swing through 12 cities and towns in the early nominating states of Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. According to his campaign, during the tour, the governor will participate in a series of speeches, retail shops, and also fireside chats. All of that kicks off next week, Tuesday on May 30th. Now, DeSantis already met with donors here at the Four Seasons prior to his announcement yesterday. His campaign claims to have millions in the bank, reportedly $100 million already. And according to his press secretary, the presidential campaign raised $1 million in the first hour after the Twitter Space launch. That was the audio-only platform that the governor made his presidential bid on yesterday during a conversation with Elon Musk. Now, that launch, though, did get off to a rocky start. The live stream repeatedly crashed for about 30 minutes. At one point, abruptly ended and then restarted, but eventually DeSantis was able to give his first speech as an official presidential candidate. Touching on familiar topics like the border and his battle with Disney, he also frequently attacked the current man in the White House, President Joe Biden.
Our president, well, he lacks vigor, flounders in the face of our nation's challenges, and he takes his cues from the woke mob.
Now, DeSantis never mentioned his primary GOP rival exactly by name. We're talking about former President Donald Trump, but he did talk about choosing a new direction for the Republican Party.
The tired dogmas of the past are inadequate for a vibrant future. We must look forward, not backwards.
Now, again, even though the governor did not mention the former president by name, the former president, Donald Trump, did take to Truth Social in order to react to the governor's announcement for president. Take a look at the video that former President Donald Trump posted. In this video, he's mocking DeSantis' launch for president, calling it a disaster and predicting that DeSantis will be that as well. On Tuesday, Trump criticized the governor for using Twitter to avoid scrutiny from people and the media. And President Joe Biden also taking to Twitter, tweeting a link to his own donation page saying, "This link works." The Palm Beach County Democratic chair had this to say about DeSantis' announcement. Ron DeSantis wants to make America more like the Florida he's made. Heaven help us all. Florida is a nightmare due to his misplaced leadership, priorities, and policies. Now, Trump's endorsement was once a huge asset to Governor Ron DeSantis during his race for governor. Now, the former president has him as an opponent. We do want to turn to our Josie Carbonari, who is live near Mar-a-Lago for us this morning with what political experts are saying, Josie, about what we can expect between the two.
Well, Nathalie, political experts say it's too early to tell what could happen and the outcome of this election. But in true political fashion, former President Donald Trump is making his presence known. Just yesterday, he posted a series of videos attacking Ron DeSantis, who is now also running for president. All of this posted on Truth Social, which is Trump's own social media platform. One of those posts reading, quote, "Ron DeSantis can't win the general election or get the nomination because says he voted to obliterate Social Security, even wanting to raise minimum age to 70 or more. He goes on to say, quote, he desperately needs a personality transplant, and to the best of my knowledge, they are not medically available yet. A disloyal person. And just last week, DeSantis told top donors he doesn't think Trump has a shot of winning the Republican nomination. We spoke with a professor of political science at FAU and asked him to weigh in. Take a listen.
Be careful in making the assumption that we know that those are going to be the two front runners. It's very, very early in the campaign. Some candidates haven't gotten in that are going to get in. There are some candidates that we're not even talking about that are probably going to get in.
And in a new poll against President Biden, numbers consisting of registered voters show Governor DeSantis leading 47 to 46%. However, former President Trump still leads DeSantis by more than 25% for both Republican and Republican-leaning voters. That's much higher than the previous poll in March, where Trump was ahead of DeSantis by about 14%. Reporting from Palm Beach, I'm Josie Carbonari, WPBF 25 News.
Josie, thank you. And ahead of Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential announcement, several groups stood out here demonstrating against DeSantis' presidential run, standing outside here the Four Seasons. Some of those groups included Trump supporters. Now, there were crowds that gathered to call out the governor's various policies on race, education, gender, and LGBTQ+ rights and care. This morning, though, marks a new journey for Governor Ron DeSantis. Let's go ahead and take a look at the timeline here. So in 2012, he won an open congressional seat. Then in 2018, the three-term congressman entered the race for Florida's governor and won the Republican nomination. For the general election race, DeSantis took on Democrat Andrew Gillum. WPBF 25 News hosted their fiery debate 2 weeks before the election. It was a close race. DeSantis beat Gillum by less than 34,000 votes. Fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hit. Governor Ron DeSantis shut down the state, but he quickly reopened it, far sooner than most states, making national headlines. That set the stage for his historic re-election win last fall, defeating former Governor Charlie Crist, and now, 6 months later, his run for the Republican presidential nomination. Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill into law yesterday, right before his announcement that now allows him to remain as governor of Florida while also running as president. So again, right before that announcement, he signed the Resign to Run bill into law. Originally, any state office holder who qualifies for federal public office must resign from office if the terms they're running for is served at the same time. So many may be asking this morning, what is next for the governor? Well, like we've been saying, he's here at the Four Seasons in Miami, where he will be meeting with top donors. We spoke with a political science professor at FAU who says that is exactly what the next step is. It's all about raising money at this time. He says DeSantis needs to raise enough money to build a campaign and compete in multiple states and hire political experts in those key states. DeSantis has already visited some of those key states. We're talking about Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. The governor also making some international visits last month: Japan, South Korea, Israel, and the UK. Now, as for a running mate, a VP pick for Governor Ron DeSantis, that political science professor we spoke to says we probably won't hear about that for a while, likely close to convention time, which is not until the summer of 2024. So again, Governor Ron DeSantis meeting with top donors here at the Four Seasons Hotel in Miami. And like we said, we just learned a few minutes ago that he will kick off an event next week on Tuesday where he will be visiting 12 cities and towns in a 4-day swing. And again, those include Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, some of them which he already visited before he announced his presidential campaign, his campaign calling it Our Great American Comeback Tour. And stay with WPBF 25. We are going to be live here in Miami all morning long. You can trust us to bring you the very latest developments as we head into the presidential primary season. You can download our free mobile app so you can stay up to date, and make sure to turn on the alerts so we can send you those notifications straight to your phone. That is the very latest here live in Miami at the Four Seasons along Brickell Avenue. Nathalie Pozo. Aaron, I'll send it back to you.
Nathalie, thank you a lot. Going to be playing out here in Florida over the next year and a half.